Bridgewater's performance. Just as many other macro funds, we actually saw them struggle for years. How did they do this time around?
Right. So Bridgewater's had a pretty successful year in the first half, up 32%, in its main hedge fund, Pure Alpha. That fund rose nearly 5% last month, while the stock market fell more than 8%. So it's a pretty good return. It's been helped, as you mentioned, by the volatility we've seen in markets. They had some struggles earlier on. This gain does build on the Pure Alpha return last year when it was up about 8%. But keep in mind, in 2020, that fund fell nearly 13%. And then for the 8 years previous to that, they posted kind of a nominal annualized gain. So it's had a rough path for a number of years. They saw several institutional clients pull around 2020. So this year's returns are certainly good news for their investors.
How are macro funds more broadly faring this year?
Yes, so, macro funds had a really tough go for several years. They struggled because, previously there wasn't enough market volatility. They pointed to central banks having policies that were pretty similar, rates being too low. But now as we're seeing this increased vol around, rising interest rates, surging inflation, soaring energy prices. We're seeing tumult in both equity and bond markets. This is providing a lot of opportunity for macro funds to do well. And so we're seeing a lot of them flourish. If we look across one of the index of macro funds, they were up in aggregate about 9% through May. So that's, a pretty strong return for them. We've seen double-digit gains at some big funds like OD Asset Management and Hadar. So as a group, they're definitely making sort of a comeback after years of difficulty.
What about as a company itself? I mean, is Bridgewater's performance a reflection of just the macro environment and in line with other funds, or did they do something specifically right?
So we're beginning to see some returns. This is one of the first numbers that we were able to report on, and we expect more numbers to come out over the next couple of days and weeks. But if we look at Bridgewater, they made money in about 65% of the markets in which they trade. It looks like they won on some bets around interest rates, stocks, commodities, sovereign and corporate debt, and developed market currencies and more. So keep in mind, this is a $150 billion firm. They obviously wield a lot of money, and they trade across a vast array of assets. But the returns so far do seem to be reflective of the broader trend of posting gains, certainly within this strategy of hedge funds, the macro strategy for this year.